Picture a location where a staggering 50,000 individuals were tightly packed within an incredibly compact expanse of just 0.26 square kilometers. This was the astonishing reality of Kowloon Walled City, renowned as the most densely inhabited spot on Earth until its eventual demolition. To contextualize this astonishing figure, it translates to a staggering 1,255,000 inhabitants per square kilometer. Numerous separate structures have blended together to form a cohesive, compact entity that incorporates businesses, stores, restaurants, places of worship, residences, and virtually every imaginable element that constitutes the heart of a city. The city consisted of tall, narrow tower blocks squeezed so closely together that they appeared to form one massive structure, like a mix of architecture and living organism. The buildings varied in shape, height, and materials used. There were iron balconies attached to brick extensions and concrete walls. Everywhere you looked, there were wires and cables, hanging vertically from the ground to rooftop TV antennas, or stretching horizontally like numerous rolls of dark twine, almost binding the buildings together. As you entered the city, sunlight vanished, replaced by narrow alleyways, many only a few feet wide. It forms an immense urban labyrinth that draws in a diverse array of individuals seeking various motives for seclusion. Frequently, it was depicted as an uncontrolled city, an anomaly in the urban landscape of Hong Kong. Interestingly, outside the imposing walls of the city, structures are spaced more generously, even featuring a park with sports amenities. This raises an intriguing question. What drove the decision to congest every aspect within this confined space? The explanation stems from the fact that Kowloon Walled City existed as a distinct entity apart from the remainder of Hong Kong, with its own unique legal standing. The walled city served as a colony within a larger colony, a city within a city, and among the locals, it earned the moniker of Hak Nam, the City of Darkness. Its origins can be traced back to the Song dynasty 960 to 1279, during which a military outpost was established to oversee the salt trade within the region. Subsequently, there was minimal development for many centuries, though in 1668, the outpost had 30 guards stationed there. Its evolution truly commenced over a century later when the post underwent expansion, giving rise to a larger fort. This development coincided with the growing significance of the nearby Canton Harbor, where Chinese tea emerged as a prized commodity for British traders. These traders purchased vast quantities of tea, fueling prosperity in the region. In the early 1800s, tea had become a favored beverage among the British population. However, this trade relationship was quite one-sided. The British bought a lot of tea, but the Chinese didn't really want European goods. In a bid to rectify this trade imbalance, the British resorted to illicitly importing opium from India into China. This strategy yielded results, leading to a swift surge in opium consumption and an ensuing epidemic of addiction that inflicted severe damage on the Chinese economy. Faced with this crisis, the imperial government took decisive measures to curtail the opium trade. In 1839, the Chinese government took significant measures to suppress the opium trade. They shut down the Canton port and seized opium from traders. In retaliation, the British government decided to send a naval fleet to confront the Chinese, marking the official commencement of the Opium War. Emerging victorious from the conflict, Britain subsequently seized control of Hong Kong in 1841. The walled city remained unaffected by this change, positioned on a nearby island. Consequently, the Chinese Empire deemed it essential to enhance the fort's infrastructure in order to govern the region effectively and counteract growing British influence. These enhancements, which encompassed the construction of a formidable defensive wall, reached completion in 1847. This transformation bestowed upon it the enduring name Kowloon Walled City. Nestled at the core of this fortress was the Yamen, a pivotal administrative hub overseeing the outpost. As tensions between China and Britain continued to escalate, they culminated in the Second Opium War of 1860. The war concluded when the 1898 Convention for the Extension of Hong Kong Territory was signed, granting Britain authority over additional regions of Hong Kong, referred to as the New Territories, for a 99-year duration. However, this agreement excluded the walled city, which at that time had a population of approximately 700 residents. China retained the right to maintain officials within the city, provided they did not interfere with the defense of British Hong Kong. Nestled within the new territories, it represented a Chinese enclave encircled by British Hong Kong. In the subsequent year, Governor Sir Henry Blake suspected that the Viceroy of Canton was deploying troops to resist the new arrangements. Consequently, on April 14, 1899, British forces launched an attack on the walled city, only to discover that the Viceroy's soldiers had departed, leaving behind only the Mandarin and 150 residents. With the fall of the Qing dynasty in 1912, control of the walled city passed into British hands. As time went by, both the Chinese and British authorities showed minimal concern for the destiny of the walled city, permitting it to develop independently. The abandoned barracks gradually transformed into makeshift homes for individuals seeking refuge. The Protestant Church converted the old yamen into a senior citizen's residence, while also establishing a school and a charity institution in other former offices. Apart from these establishments, the walled city turned into a mere attraction for British colonists and tourists to explore. It was even marked as Chinese Town on a 1915 map. In 1933, the Hong Kong authorities revealed their intentions to demolish a majority of the deteriorating structures within the walled city, offering new homes to the 436 squatters who resided there as compensation. One pivotal event in 1937 altered the trajectory of the walled city, and that was the conflict between Japan and China. This marked the commencement of a comprehensive invasion spearheaded by Japan, which assumed a pivotal role in the broader Pacific conflict throughout World War II. In 1942, Japan gained control over extensive portions of northern China, encompassing several coastal territories, including Hong Kong, which was strategically employed as a military base. In their endeavors to enlarge the nearby Kai Tak Airport, which was in close proximity to the walled city, the Japanese needed construction materials. To achieve this goal, they disassembled the walls that encircled the fortified city. After World War II, Hong Kong returned to British rule. At the same time, in 1949, the newly established People's Republic of China reiterated its claim to the Kowloon Walled City. However, in reality, neither the Chinese nor the British exercised effective control over this area. As a wave of refugees poured in after the Chinese Civil War, the need for affordable housing in Hong Kong surged. The city grew incredibly crowded and became a self-contained world. What were once single houses transformed into multi-story structures, eventually evolving into towering 14-story skyscrapers. Consequently, the city attained its peak size in the late 1970s and early 1980s. This was primarily because a restriction on building height, limited to 13 to 14 stories, was enforced due to the flight path of aircraft heading towards Kai Tak Airport. The most valuable apartments were those oriented outward, followed by those situated near the internal courtyard. These units provided the precious commodities of sunlight and fresh air. Inhabitants ingeniously extended their living space by adding enclosed balconies to their apartments. However, the majority of units were located within the inner sections, characterized by extremely unfavorable conditions. The absence of windows meant that the residents were entirely reliant on electric lighting. Waste management was conspicuously absent, resulting in alarming air quality. Trash was frequently discarded onto city rooftops or into gaps between buildings. The atmosphere was persistently stagnant and tainted by the various factories operating within the city. Access to clean water was limited to a mere 6 official water stations for the entire city, necessitating residents to transport water across considerable distances. In terms of electricity, few opted to pay for the service. Instead, many residents chose to illicitly tap into external power cables, intricately routing them through the city's maze-like alleys. The inhospitable living conditions attracted not only those seeking affordable accommodations, but also individuals enticed by the city's ambiguous legal status, envisioning unique business prospects within its confined expanse. While these ventures within the walled city operated in a legal gray area, some others plunged fully into serious criminal undertakings. The city's independence from Hong Kong's legal jurisdiction didn't imply total lawlessness. There were still hierarchical power structures, with the notorious triads, criminal organizations, holding sway over the city. Even though businesses evade taxation, many were coerced into paying protection fees to these groups. The triads themselves indulged in illegal activities, such as facilitating prostitution, running opium dens, and eventually delving into the heroin trade. While the walled city had long been associated with criminal activities, the majority of its inhabitants were law-abiding and led peaceful lives within its confines. Many small factories and businesses prospered within the walled city, and certain residents even established groups to coordinate and enhance daily life within the community. Furthermore, several private aid organizations established themselves within the city, operating a kindergarten and a Christian missionary youth center that provided assistance with addiction. The historical Yamen, situated at the city's core, transformed into a popular social hub, hosting public events for the residents. Despite partial improvements within the city, it was geopolitical factors once again that set the stage for the city's final chapter. The foundations for the city's demolition were established in the Sino-British Joint Declaration of 1984. The joint decision by both governments to dismantle the walled city was made public on January 14, 1987. The existing social circumstances, the fire hazard, and the potential for structural failures justified the need for a thorough evacuation and the subsequent demolition of the city, despite significant resistance from the residents. With the commencement of demolition in 1993, the chapter of Kowloon Walled City came to a close. The location that once housed the walled city has been transformed into Kowloon Walled City Park. Traces of the city's history can still be discovered in various places. The historical Yamen building stands as a testament to the past, while a small model pays homage to the immense urban complex that once occupied this space. In the modern era, the legacy of Kowloon is recreated through artificial means in themed casinos, arcades, video games, manga, cyberpunk imaginings, and various other forms of entertainment. Nonetheless, it's crucial to acknowledge that beneath this exterior facade, Kowloon Walled City was, in fact, a vibrant, tightly knit community. Despite the apparent disorder, a significant level of organization prevailed. The notion of utter chaos is fundamentally misconstrued. For numerous individuals, Kowloon Walled City serves as a symbol of Hong Kong's tenacity, illustrating how determined people could establish a sense of community even amidst adversity. What are your thoughts about this? I hope you like our story. Until the next one.